Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be the third update for Pan Those Eyeshadows, I believe. This project was started by Alexi. She's always linked in my description box. I have been working on 6 shades, one of which comes from a focus palette, and the rest were randomized for my entire eyeshadow collection. I don't want to work on a black, and if it comes from a palette I've never used before, I use the palette 10 times. Otherwise I have a 20 use or pan to roll out. I'm making some changes in today's update because I feel like I've kind of hit a wall with my panning already. It's just April and I'm feeling kind of stagnant, not making the progress I've wanted to make. So I'm going to make some changes. But before hopping in, I will pop in a picture to the side of what my color story has looked like over the last month. I had a lot of topper style shades and I was finding that I wasn't able to focus on all of them at the same time, which I mean should have been obvious, but they are all different, so I thought it would be fine, but it turns out it wasn't. And also, okay, let's just hop into it. I go in the order of what rolled in, first versus what rolled in last month. I just don't want to work on this. This is the L'Oreal Infallible eyeshadow in the shade Silver Sky. Silver is not my preferred shade to wear, and also this container is just giant. It's loose, kind of hard to work with, like not extremely, but it's just always a pain. I am more a palette girl. I don't really buy individual shadows like this anymore. I buy singles, like magnetic, that I can make a palette, but I just never want to reach for this. I reached for it 2 times in the last month for a total of 7 uses in this project, and I just haven't enjoyed it any of those 7 times. So this is something that if I did declutter, I would. I think I'm going to put this in my makeup I could live without drawer, so when friends or family come to visit, then they could have the opportunity to grab this. Oh, I did forget to tell you what my pan percentage is. So at the beginning of March, my pan percentage was 1.93%. Quite a few eyeshadows have come into my collection since then, so I've dropped down to 1.89%, but that's still higher than it was at the beginning of the year. Next up, I have 2 shades from my ABH Jackie Aina palette, and I'm just really ready to put this away. I've worked on this a ton over the recent months. I haven't technically met my goal on either of the shades, but I just need a little bit of a refresh in this project because, like I said at the intro, I'm feeling a little bit stagnant. So first up, I have the shade Pinker, which I have used 4 times since the last update for a total of 16 uses since rolling it into this project. So only 4 more technically before I would be allowed to roll it out, but I just know I'm not going to hit pan on this shade. There's hardly much of a disturbance. This shade feels like a rock, honestly. Like I said this in my last update, I know ABH shadows are like drier, but this is not dusty at all. It just literally feels like a rock. Like even when I touch it with my finger, it applies and blends fine. It's just very strange. There's no way I'm going to hit pan on that. Secondly, I've been working on Trust Issues, which I've used 5 times since the last update for a total of 14 uses in this project. I'm really enjoying this shade. It is a topper with a really yellow gold kind of shift to it. This is something that I could hit pan on eventually, but not in the 6 more uses within this project, I don't think. But I have made actual progress on that shade. For these updates, I usually try and wear every eyeshadow, but I just quite honestly wasn't in the mood today, and because I have 3 kind of toppery shades, it seemed redundant. But I do have Trust Issues as a topper on my eye look today, and I'm gonna roll this entire palette out. Even though I didn't meet my goal on either of those shades, this palette as a whole has gotten quite a lot of use from me over the last few months, because while these two shades were in the project that I was working on, I was reaching for, you know, many shades within this palette, both to pair with the other shades within this project, but also just because it was out on my everyday makeup drawer. So I was using this palette quite a lot. I have a little bit of a dip in Shookington. I used Credit quite often as well. Ginger has quite a bit of use. So overall, I just want to refresh. I just want some new palettes upstairs. Next, from my BH Cosmetics Take Me Back to Brazil palette, I'm working on the shade 22, which is the green you're mostly seeing in my eye look. I'm very happy to say that I have a noticeable dip happening in here. These eyeshadows are very small. I have used the shade 4 times since the last update for a total of 7 uses in this project. I feel pretty confident I'll be able to hit pan on this with some dedication. These pans are really small, they're not that deep, and like I said, I do have a reasonable dip happening in here. I don't think it's gonna, you know, show pan in the next 2 to 5 uses by any means, but I think I will actually like successfully hit pan in this palette within this project, which will feel really good. So this is going to stay in. It's a really fun spring green. I don't celebrate St. Patrick's Day, so when everyone else was doing like green looks for St. Patrick's Day in March, I really wasn't, and honestly it made me really not want to wear green. So hopefully this spring I'll get some more use out of this palette. Next up for my Focus palette. My Focus is my two Wet n Wild palette, two oldest Wet n Wild palettes. I have 3 Wet n Wild palettes. But I'm now working on the Comfort Zone and trying to hit pan on this green shade. Again, I have a decent dip starting in here. I've been focusing my brush on where the E in eyelid was. So I mean that like pressing on the eyeshadow kind of gave me a head start, if you will. I've used it 3 times since rolling it in last month actually, and this wasn't a brand new shade. It's actually the most used shade in this entire palette for me. Probably both these 2 shades here. So again, these pans are very shallow and I feel confident I can hit pan on these. While I have been combining the 2 greens, they're not really in the same, they're not the same tone of green, and I don't really feel like they necessarily go together. I like how it looks with Trust Issues topped on it, because Trust Issues has that yellowy color, and the matte green in the Take Me Back to Brazil palette is a very like yellowy tone of green, whereas in the Comfort Zone the green is like a more mossy green. Does that make sense? But I am enjoying working on the greens. Lastly, last month I rolled in the ColourPop Wild Nothing palette. This is a really great soft spring palette, and because I've been just kind of bogged down with everything that I've been doing, I haven't given this much love at all. I was very excited to pull it in and just be able to use it like as a whole, as well as focusing on one shade. The shade rolled in is Spirited. I have used it 2 times in the last month since rolling it in. It's a Super Shock formula. There's actually not really a dip because I just kind of rub my finger over the entire thing, but I really do feel like I'll be able to hit pan in this no trouble, and I'm very happy to be rolling out Trust Issues and Silver Sky, the other 2 topper type of shades, to get more use out of this one here. And this will be my like focus as a topper, and also I really hope to use a lot of this palette just on like soft everyday looks. I love color and more dramatic darker looks as well, but sometimes I really do just want a soft easy look, and this palette is perfect for that for my skin tone. I'm very fair. If you have a medium or deeper skin tone, I really don't think that this palette would work super well for you because it is so light in tone, but for me it is a really great spring palette. So a change I'm going to make to this project is I am finding 6 eyeshadows to be too much. I am going to lower that down to 5, so being 4 completely randomized eyeshadows, and then the 5th shade coming from my Focus palette. So right now that's the green in the Comfort Zone, and rolling the 3 shades out. So I'm rolling 3 shades out and I'm going to roll 2 new shades in. All 3 of these shades are Vito's. I hate doing that, especially because my goal this year is to hit a lot of eyeshadow pans, but I'm just hoping for like a little bit. I'm hoping that this little refresh will help re-inspire me. I love this project so much, and it's not that I'm not inspired by this project, it's just like a combination of things, but I'm hoping revamping this project a little bit will re-inspire me for other things as well. Who knows? This is what I want to do. Okay, we're drawing in 2 new shades, rolling out 3 shades. I have my Pretty Random app here. I have in the numbers 1 to 1087. That is the number of eligible eyeshadows I have in my collection. I don't want to work on a black shade. I don't know if all of the blacks have been removed from my spreadsheet. We will see. 46, that is from an old palette because they're not technically in the order of oldest to newest, but since creating my spreadsheet, I've added all of my newest shades at the bottom. That is a single eyeshadow. And secondly, 214. I'm actually going to re-roll for 214. It comes from my Naked Cosmetics Trio, which is a palette I could live without. This is kind of up for grabs if anybody wants it, and like friends or family. But I wouldn't mind working on it if it got rolled in. However, this shade here is the one that got rolled in. This is a very mossy green. It's pretty much exactly the same as the Wet n Wild shade I'm already working on, so that's not going to work. So let us re-roll for that. 333. I like that these are all kind of older palettes. Not kind of, they are all older palettes. Oh boy. Alright you guys, I went and I have discovered what shades I have. I've swatched my new color story here, and I am so happy with my decision to roll out those other shades. I'm already very excited about the new shades I've gotten. So first, I picked a single from Coastal Scents. I do have this Coastal Scents palette here. These 6 are Ofra shades. This is a Luxie or Luxie shade, and the rest are Coastal Scents. Very sad that Coastal Scents has gone out of business, but I am happy to be getting more use out of these eyeshadows. As you can see, they do have some usage, but not a ton. And actually the shade I rolled in has probably only been used maybe once, and it is the shade Deep Merlot right here. Again, I did swatch my eyeshadows. It is this shade right here. It is a cool toned, it's kind of purpley but also kind of brown. It is a shimmer, and I'm just very interested to get some use out of that. It's not a springy shade by any means, but it will provide me with some variety. I think it will go with the topper shade from ColourPop really well. Not sure it really goes with anything else here, but overall I'm just happy to be pulling this out and upstairs. It is pretty big. I could pop the single into a smaller magnetic palette, but I haven't gotten use out of this palette very much lately, probably for many months. So I'm gonna take this whole thing upstairs. And again, this is the shade I will be working on, Deep Merlot. Secondly, oh, again, 20 uses or hitting pan on that. Then I have my Sephora Pro Warm palette. This palette loves this project, probably because it's so big, but these eyeshadows are massive. I have yet to hit pan on this despite having used this palette. I want to check how many uses I've actually gotten on this palette. 59 uses, and I got this from a friend, so this has well over 60 or 70 uses on it, and there are no pans. I have worked on the shade Hazelnut in this project before, as well as the shade Clay. Both of those got 30 uses and hardly have dips. Now I'm going to be working on the shade Sandstone over here. Again, it is the orange shade swatched at the bottom. I love warm tones, especially in summer. I'm very happy to be getting even more use out of this palette, and I'm very happy with this like bright poppy orange shade. I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. Again, my goal is 20 uses or pan now. I know this is going to be a 20 use and then roll out, but that's fine with me. Again, when I have these palettes up in my everyday makeup drawer, I do reach for more shades than just that one. I do not want to use this project as a way to like only use one shade and not touch the rest of the palette. So maybe I will work on some of these lighter shades to set my eyeshadow primer. I love this mustardy shade. I think it's called Ochre. This doesn't have the shade names on it. I think it was on a plastic sheet, but I have the names in my spreadsheet in order so I can like, you know, figure out what they're called. But yeah, that's a great palette to be pulling out this time of year. And once again, here is my color story. I will pop in a better picture for you. 20 uses or pan. Let me see where I'm at with the other shades. 7, 3, and 2 for the ones I had previously. So I don't think I'm going to hit 20 uses on any of them before the next update. But a focus of mine is, well, it's going to be the 3 I have had in here the longest. I think I will actually be able to hit pan in both Comfort Zone and the Wild Nothing palette. Again, Spirited here is a Super Shock shadow, and I really feel like once it has my undivided attention, if you will, it won't be that hard to actually hit pan in that shade. And then Comfort Zone is very dry, very powdery, and shallow pans. So again, with some actual dedication, it shouldn't be hard to hit pan on this at all. I kind of ruined the dip I had made when I swatched it to put on my hand, but that's okay. That is going to be my goal for next month, is pan in these 2 palettes. And then again, when I hit pan in the Comfort Zone, I will randomize a new shade from either this or Walking on Eggshells. So this is going to be just probably a constant in this project all year. I'm going to stop rambling. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I love hearing your color pairing suggestions, what shades you think I would be most successful with, what shades, you know, I should focus on this coming month. The only shade I'm like worried about focusing on is Deep Merlot, just because it is not springy or summery in any way, but I will reach for it a handful of times each month. I tend to like focus on the shades rolled in first, but I think the shades I rolled in last time actually are going to get my focus, even though the BH Take Me Back to Brazil palette has been in longest. I don't know. I'm rambling now. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I really do love this project a lot, and I already feel so much better with the new shades. If you did enjoy today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up so that I know, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!